Hello everyone, it's Dakota, and welcome back to another Pioneer video. And this week we're going to be taking a look at a deck that kind of plays like a legacy deck. It does something super busted, crazy insane, and really the deck itself, the cards that it plays, and the person behind it kind of explains it all and is just a big beautiful mess that does some really dumb things in the format. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at Tibalt's Trickery for the Pioneer format. One. So here we have the Tibalt's Trickery deck for the Pioneer format. A very interesting deck. Cannot wait to go over it. But of course, I have some little maintenance things to do. If you have not already subscribed to the channel and you want to support me in all my deck techs and any of my other discussion videos that hopefully I'll have going up very soon, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe on all the videos and on the channel to support me. It's the easiest way to do it, and I always greatly appreciate it. There's a link in the Discord or a link in the description of the video to the Discord server. So if that is something that interests you, talk about magic and all those fun things, go ahead, follow that link in the description, and go ahead and join the server. Now, the Tibalt Trickery deck, this is something that has existed partially in all the formats of Magic, and then they were swiftly banned in just about everything except for Pioneer for some reason. But for those not familiar with what Tibalt's Trickery does, you counter a spell, and it's in red, you choose one, two, or three at random. Normally, you'd like roll a die or something like that. And then the spell's controller that you are countering mills that many cards, and then they exile cards from the top of the library until they exile a non-land card with a different name than that spell. They can cast the spell without paying its mana cost. The rest of the exiled cards are put to the bottom of their library in a random order. So essentially, what you're trying to do is on turn 2, you are trying to cast a Stone Coil Serpent for 0, maintaining priority and countering your own spell. This way, you end up milling, presumably one card. And the best thing to kind of mill over and hit, or not even mill over, to exile and hit is Emergent Ultimatum. Emergent Ultimatum lets you cast 3 monocolored cards with different names. You exile them, your opponent chooses one of those cards, shuffles it back in the library. You cast the rest without paying their mana cost, and you exile Ultimatum. Essentially, you have different lines where you get like Omniscience, Peer into the Abyss, and Tarrasque is actually a combo, I should say, or a combination of cards that I've seen Aspiring Spike, who made the deck. And of course, you should definitely check him out on Twitch, YouTube channel, all that. He's very entertaining to watch. He's just a very good player. It's something that you can learn from a lot as well. There is other lines and things like that, but typically with this scenario where we have the Trask, Peer into the Abyss, and Omniscience, if our opponent puts back Omniscience, we peer into Abyss, targeting them. Then the Trask has Ward 10 and Haste, so then that kills them. They put back the Peer into the Abyss, you have the Trask, and you have the Omniscience, and literally any of your other spells minus Tibalt's Trickery and Stonecoil Serpent are probably going to end the game as like Explosive Singularity can deal 10 damage to your opponent just on its own. So it's like another thing that you could get to deal them 10 damage. You could cast more Emergent Ultimatums. They give you the Omniscience. Emrakul the Promised End, Ceaseless Hunger, Cosmic Great Distortion to kind of set up more Omniscience type turns and things like that. Also, in the worst case, your second best hit is any one of these Eldrazi. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, can just end the game on the spot. You do it on turn 2 on the draw. You exile both of your opponent's permanents. If you're playing against like a fast aggressive deck and you do it turn 2 on the play, you get rid of their threat plus their land. They're pretty done after that because a 10/10 indestructible is very hard for some white certain like monocolored decks and things like that to play it and or to beat it, and attacking with it ends the game in a few turns, even if your opponent is able to produce land blocker for the foreseeable future. Um, and that's really the deck. Like your mana base and stuff. Like you have some sweet tech in Nephalia Academy. Excuse me. If a spell vulnerability an opponent controls would cause you to discard a card, you may reveal that card and put it on top of your library instead of putting it anywhere else, and it taps for mana. You have Ramanop Ruins that can eventually turn into some damage. Den of the Bugbear, same thing. Sogazen could make some make 2/1/1s. Feasibly could end the game. More than likely, probably just make sure that you survive a little bit later in the game if you're just looking for another Tibalt Trickery. And you have like Temple of Malice, Temple of Triumph, red Scrylands that can help you dig towards one of your missing pieces. Zalfir and Void is a colorless land that will also scry one when it enters the battlefield, notably coming into play untapped. So you could, in theory, manipulate the top of your deck before you are able to go off. Nephalia Drawn Yard doesn't come into play tapped, so is another land that you can play on turn two. Things like that for basic mountain. The deck is super simple and streamlined for the most part. Doesn't look like there's a full like sideboard. I guess four Blast Zone, Radiant Fountain, Leviathan, Void Winnower. I guess that is 15. It just didn't seem like it. And I guess these lands, sort of like Blast Zone, could help you more against like aggressive decks if that's something that you're in for. And like Radiant Fountain also coming in against some of the more aggressive decks, maybe like taking on Nephalia Academies and even like some Zalfrin Voids and things like that, shaving on some lands so you can play these lands. Stormtide Leviathan and Void Winnower. Stormtide Leviathan actually like stops creatures without flying or island walk from attacking. Turning all lands into islands basically means that this thing will get to attack your opponent if they're playing non-islands. Void Winnower, your opponent can't cast even spells, and your opponent can't block with creatures with even converted mana cost. I don't know exactly how that comes up. I'm wondering if it was just another big creature just to kind of slap into play. I would actually like to see something along the lines of the Eldrazi that mills things, and of course I cannot remember its name, but it exiles cards and you can play as many lands that are exiled in your opponent's exile with that card. Oblivion Sower, that's the card that it is, just because of course I remember it at a perfect time. But yeah, pretty standard Tibalt's Trickery nonsense going on. Uh, a lot of times you would just see people playing like 8 0 cost cards and 4 Tibalt's Trickery and hoping to spin into something else. This deck is definitely a little bit more streamlined. You can be pretty aggressive with mulliganing to find Tibalt's Trickery, Stonecoil Serpent. I would say this deck mulligans very well because in theory you could just play this game where your opponent takes so long you're just able to cast Haymaker after Haymaker after playing enough lands to hopefully cast some of your bigger things like your Eldrazi and things like that, which your Voids and Ramunap Ruins, Nephilic Academies can help you cast as well. So yeah, that is Tibalt's Trickery for the Pioneer format. This deck is interesting. Probably a reason why Tibalt's Trickery should just not be a card that exists, because we saw in every format when it was printed, essentially, that it was just kind of tearing things up and doing like very broken things. And even if there was times that it was miss, that's kind of what makes it unfun, right? Like you have this card that essentially sets up a combo that doesn't necessarily just win the game outright. It's a card that will possibly kill you. While this version definitely is very much set up to where it's either going to hit another Tibalt's Trickery, which will then fizzle your whole thing, but you will hit 3 trickeries, but to hit one of them, you end up having to hit like Ultimatum, Omniscience, any one of your four ofs in the Kozilek, Ulamog, Emrakul, the Trask, all these different cards. So definitely a deck that's kind of fun to play around with. A deck that I wouldn't expect to stick around for a long time because I think this does create very unfun games. I think it's fun to be playing it, not very fun to be playing against it. And it's not even where it's unfun to where your opponent just has like a very good matchup against everything. It's literally I did not get to play a game of Magic. I didn't get to attempt to play a game of Magic, and the person playing it just can either run over their opponent or doesn't really have fun because their combo fizzles to the small amount of variance that it has built into it. So let me know what you think in the comments of this deck. Go ahead and again, go ahead and watch Aspiring Spike on Twitch. Follow him on Twitch, on YouTube, and things like that. Really great content creator, really great Magic player, really fun to watch when I do get the chance to catch a stream. And do be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel as well to show me some support and join the Discord server. The link is in the description there for you to join. And that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next one.